Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Team Taj Live. It's not called Team Taj Live. Welcome to the live stream. It's our third live stream, so hopefully we're getting a little smoother each time. I'm definitely getting a bit more used to this. There's less panic in that lead up to the go live time. Still nervous, but getting used to it. How are you going? There's a couple of people here. Actually, no, there's one person here. I think I count as one of the other ones. But welcome. It is Tuesday, the 21st of March, 2023. And we've got a few fun things to go through today. I've got a bunch of videos for us to watch together later in the show. Oh, hang on. I've got it coming out of my phone. I definitely am one of those viewers. All right, we'll stop that. I can't hear my voice twice. Once is bad enough. All right. So what are we going to talk? Yes, the videos later. We've had a few interesting things happen over the last week. We're going to recap the week. I'm going to talk a little bit about some conversations that I've had which make me think that people aren't really using YouTube to its fullest potential. So just going to have a little talk about that. And that's probably going to do it for the evening. I will definitely ramble. I'm not too sure how long the video section is going to go, but I just sort of picked out a whole bunch of videos that I've either watched or haven't watched, but all relating to housing. And I want to go over that and help kind of expand my thoughts on where I want this build to go from a architectural standpoint. And I think we'll see where those accessibility issues are really not being paid attention to in a lot of modern builds. Despite them being very beautiful, it's not necessarily functional the way that I think they should be. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of those and have a watch together, which is not too dissimilar from a lot of streamers who do the sort of just chatting style of streaming. So, you know, we're not gaming, we're not doing a hot tub stream, God forbid. And I think Liz was particularly sort of taken aback by that. But I'm just going to keep going on trialing a few different styles of things, see what's working, see what's not. And I know I promised some highlight videos of the streams. I haven't been able to get to that. So I will endeavor to do a March wrap up, because I think we started streaming. It's the third one, it's the third week. Yeah, so we're going to do a March highlights, and then that will hopefully help me figure out how to do the weekly highlight, how to edit it, how to put it together, and put the edited clip down onto YouTube and get some shorter clips and put them on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, because that's something that I have done this week. And yeah, it's been kind of cool. It's been very, it's different style. The vertical video thing, I hate. I despise it. But it's ubiquitous now. It's how most people are consuming their content. More people have said do TikTok, and I'm still not doing TikTok for now. Be it to my detriment or not, I'm just not quite there yet. But maybe once we've built up a whole bunch of vertical video, short form content, and I've got a whole bunch there, I can push it out to TikTok and start that. So that's a TBD. Gonna see how we go on that. I locked myself out of the house today. I thought I'd talk about that, because that was a bit of a fail on my part. But the reason I mention it is because I had to jump the fence, and I physically could not do it. I had a bit of a harsh realization about my current health state, or my ability to support my own body weight, and it was not good. Bit of a wake up call. I've obviously eventually got back in, but that was a bit of a slap in the face. So I think I'm going to sooner rather than later need to start my health journey, along with all of these other pathways that I'm taking. I think people that know me know that when I kind of do something, I go a little crazy with it. But I don't think that's really manageable in my life at the moment, in terms of just going really militant on whatever I'm doing, whether it's intermittent fasting or, portion control and blah, 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 I really sort of go a bit too extreme, and it's not necessarily manageable. So that's got to happen sooner. And although it's not going to be a primary kind of content focus, I think it's really important to include because, for parents with complex kids, I'm sure a lot of them aren't taking care of themselves. The whole self-care thing is a really difficult thing to fit into your day. And it's kind of the first thing that gets, put on the table to do later when you're living this kind of a life. And, same goes for just parents in general. And there's a lot of elements that it will tie into with the broader Team Taj project in terms of us growing our own food to a certain degree and trying to find ways that you can eat healthier. And hi, Benny B. Hey, Kat. Great to have you. The sustainability, as in being able to incorporate it into your life and not create all of these extra time and energy overheads, is really important. So that moment today where I could not get myself or push myself up from over the fence, kind of like what do you call those? I've never. Anyway, bit of a wake up call, but that was quite funny. Taji was in the house too, so time was of the essence for me to get that in. Bit of a wrap up of the week. What did we do? So I think a good portion of the things that I want to talk about I've posted on socials, which again is really different for me. One, actually just posting regularly to social is something I don't do, and I need to do for this project. So it's been good to kind of get a few things out the gate, get a few runs on the board, and kind of changing my mindset in terms of thinking about content. Like the video I posted today to YouTube Shorts and Instagram of Taj just chilling out in his chair at his station was just sort of a spur of the moment thing. I knew I needed to put something out for the stream, and I thought, I haven't shown this yet, and it's something I do want to show soon, in full detail, because I'm really proud of it, and there's a few people that have given me some really wonderful feedback on it. So yeah, I would love to share that with you, and maybe some other parents can emulate it. And there's some exciting news in terms of that whole thing, which I'm not quite ready to share, but yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah, I just did a little video and did a few sort of text overlays and added some music and popped it on Instagram, and so that was done pretty quickly. So these these things which I was really concerned about, sort of just taking up too much time, and me wanting to put out something that's, like it's not just a video from your phone. It's got something extra. I think that shows that I'm trying to put more effort in, and it's not just your sort of standard. Well, it is. It kind of is, but you know what I mean. Maybe you don't, but I do. So that was really good to get out, and it was good to get it done quickly. And then the other one that I put out was the Friday group session, which people really liked, and especially the people at CPEC, the staff members, have sort of privately shared their enthusiasm for it, and same with the parents. And yeah, it was just really cool. I got to show a little bit more of the other kids. Obviously, the parents are cool with that. That's something that I definitely want to be doing more of, but obviously just kind of got to take things slow at the moment. But the group day was a good day for Taj, and when he has a good day at group, it's really positive, and I'm glad I got to sort of capture some of that. Very ad hoc while I was there. I didn't even really know what I was going to do with it, but then I ended up putting it together over the weekend, posting it, and got some good feedback from it. So very happy with that. We went to the zoo, which was cool. I mentioned in the Instagram post that the whole place is really accessible. So yeah, just wanted to shout out Melbourne Zoo. And I think all of the other zoos are quite similar, but I can't speak to that because we've not gone. I used to go to Hillsville Sanctuary a lot when I was a kid, but we haven't gone yet with the kids. It's way over the opposite side of town. It's like probably an hour and a half's drive away. And then there's Werribee Zoo, which is a bit over an hour away. But so Melbourne Zoo is kind of our closest. And you can get there by train. There's no stairs. It's just accessibility heaven. So I managed to take both the boys by myself and it not be a complete nightmare. Both the boys had a lot of fun, and yeah, it was a really great day. Also after group on Friday, Ava's parents needed some help. Car broke down, so I had to. So I took Ava and her mum home, and the three. So Ava and mum and dad and I hung out with Taj for an hour, and that was just really nice to connect with, outside of that group setting, which is just once a week during school term. And there's just this, I don't know, it's like just a bond that's there because you've shared this experience in life, and they're really nice people. They're really, really genuinely good people, and they've gone through a lot as well. I would love to tell their story at some stage. And yeah, they've got a lot of, the dad, Ava's dad has a lot of similar interests to mine, so we had a lot in common. We can just sort of chat about things, and it was really cruisy, and it was just really nice. So I was really happy about that. There's a lot of potentially wonderful things to come out of it in terms of having some friends that are in our situation, and that's something that we haven't had before. So that's new, and hopefully something great will come out of it. What else happened last week? Yeah, so I'm not sure whether I really talked about it last week. I think I kind of slipped my mind, but I have hit a bit of a wall in terms of some of the content that I want to do, specifically around some family members that have caused us a lot of a lot of pain, and a lot of extra struggle that would have been nice to not have to go through, or to be still going through. And yeah, just sort of floating the idea around and getting pushback, or at least just some strong suggestions to not do that. And that's been a bit difficult for me, not because I disagree with them, because I do understand completely where they're coming from. But I think there's sort of a larger component there that they're just not really understanding. So I'm hoping to get to the 100 sub goal soon. We're at 91, I think, so, which is awesome. Yeah, once I get to the 100 and I can do polls and get more engagement and things like that, I might leave it to you guys to kind of help me decide when is going to be appropriate to do it. I think I'm definitely going to do it. Sorry, Mum and Dad. But there's a big part of it for me that can't be separated from our story and our journey to get here, and the kind of openness and honesty that I gave around Taj's birth and our experience in the last 4 and a bit years. These two parties have had such a strong impact and influence on our state of being, our financial sturdiness. There's just so much I can't sort of separate it and just let sleeping dogs lie, because I've put out something that has been very difficult to do, but I've found it being very beneficial. And if I don't talk about these other things, then I feel it's a bit disingenuous. I feel like I'm having to hold on to some things which I need to get out of me in order for me to properly move forward. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that. Another thing I want to talk about was actually, no, before that, like I think I need to do some housekeeping, because I've had chats with friends and they are not familiar with YouTube, at least how I thought they might be. I guess I have spent a lot of time on YouTube. It's my favorite streaming service. In fact, I think going to be getting rid of Netflix and ideally Amazon Prime, but it's having an Amazon account has really allowed us to function in a lot of instances, just not being able to go out and get things all the time due to family commitments. It's really been a lifesaver, but ultimately I know that I'm gonna have to detach from the teat of Bezos and start changing our purchasing behavior. So that will be part of the journey, and we will go into those sorts of things in a lot more detail when it comes to discovering better ways to acquire the things that we actually need, and then being more discerning about how we buy our things, and why we might buy some things, and should we hold off? There's a lot of things in that sort of consumerism bucket that I'll get into. But ditching the streaming services and just basically sticking with YouTube. And I'll get into why, but the thing that kind of spawned this for a lot of people, I'm half joking, I'm half being serious. Jimmy, just put it out there, brother. You need to tell the story. Or yeah, they'll get away with it. I agree, but I think a big part of this has to be as objective as possible. It has to be done carefully, and there has to be a broader point to it other than me just kind of airing my dirty laundry. I think it needs to, and in both instances, there are some broader themes that I think a lot of people can connect with, and that's needs to be the goal for the video. I think that the byproduct of that is I have made a big step towards that path to acceptance about sort of how life has panned out. So back to the whole YouTube thing. So yeah, in conversation, it's been a little bit of me being facetious, but sort of suggesting people subscribe or giving a little bit of a dig, like, oh, you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, or you haven't subscribed on YouTube. And a lot of people I've talked to have sort of indicated that they don't even know how to subscribe to YouTube, which blows my mind since I spend so much time on it, and nearly every video I watch, at some point, it's either a graphic on the screen or the creator themselves begging people to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And, you know, I understand why, but I was always loath to do it, and I still am. But I thought I would just go through a few of the things that are kind of how I use YouTube and why I think it's the best streaming service / platform. And in doing so, I'm hoping to get out of this maybe a rough guide on a video that I want to put together, which is a bit more succinct, but also has all of the B-roll graphics and all that sort of stuff to go along with it. Just because I think my audience that I have right now is less sort of, you know, they probably use Instagram and TikTok a lot. And when they use YouTube, I think it's likely for tutorials or for things that they are, I was going to say things that they get sort of, they see on social media, but you know, every platform has its own video content now, and everything kind of gets chopped and changed and thrown on the platform. So they might not actually be coming to YouTube as much. And I just thought I would put something out there that is a bit of fun, but also I can just refer people back to and just say, hey, if they say, why are you on YouTube? I can just be like, here, check this out, or whatever. So, yeah, and then what I talk about now, which is going to be obviously a little bit less refined and polished, will hopefully form the basis of that. So I'm trying to like kill a few birds, while I'm on stream, to be able to create new content, just to pad things out. Because I think for me to really grow, there's going to have to be way more content put out than I'm currently doing. And I just don't have the time to do that. So I think, yeah, getting bang for buck out of these streams is going to be great. And these streams are also going to be running for the express purpose of giving me the time to work on things, like literally work on things, design things in 3D while people are here. I really want to try and collaborate with a few other YouTubers as well. There's an Aussie-based 3D artist who does a lot of really great Blender, which is a free 3D program, an incredible tool, very powerful, and completely open source. His name's Blender Guru. I'm going to reach out to him and maybe he can show me around Blender for architecture, Blender for 3D printing. Oh, yeah. I ordered a 3D printer as like a late birthday present for myself. So I can print things for Taj. Oh, hold on. Help create some add-ons for Taj's stroller in the car. There's like lots of little kind of mounts and clips and things which just don't exist. So I'm going to do a bit of 3D modeling, 3D printing, and see if there's anything that can work for us, and then put those files up on Thingiverse, which just lets anyone with a 3D printer grab them and make their own mods or just print it directly. So really excited about that, actually. So on these streams, they're going to be, longer, quite long. I think some of them are probably going to go for 2 or 3 hours, and I really don't expect people to watch along for those longer streams. But again, I listen to a lot of content that is very long form like that, podcasts and such, on YouTube. And the reason I can do that is there's a lot of extra features with YouTube Premium. Hear me out. Hear me out. I'm not shilling for Google, but there are some very cool features that you get when you become a subscriber. So the free version of YouTube, great. You still have access to all the videos, but there's lots of annoying things that you only quite realize when you go to YouTube and you're not signed in on your account, which is the premium account. Kat said in chat, could you use ChatGPT to help create content? I actually have used ChatGPT to help me create content. I got a little stuck in the script writing for the first few videos. And what's up, Russell? Hello. Yeah, it's great for like ideation. So it's great. It's a great starting point to kind of get your writing going, but it's not great for not much else. I haven't used version 4, which got released 2 weeks ago, but I'll definitely have a little fun with that. It's a very cool tool, but in terms of like content creation, Kat, I'm talking more about, so social media, video content, which just has an inherent sort of time factor in production. I'm getting quicker, like case in point, the video today. It probably took me half an hour from go to woe. But it will definitely help me like spit out a list of 100 ideas on videos that I could do. So just ask it what are some short form interesting videos that I can put on TikTok, and it'll just give me a whole list, and I can just cherry pick from that. So don't worry, Kat. I'm very much. My ear is definitely very much to the ground with AI. It's another thing I wanted to do on stream is do some house, some architectural, sort of exterior and interior design ideas using image text prompt to image. Or even some with the new features which have just sort of, it's such a crazy field. It's very hard to keep on top of all of the new things that are coming out, but there's a thing called ControlNet, and essentially all that does is allow you to really, really finely control your output image based on an input image. So before you had to create hundreds of images from a prompt. You'd need to refine your prompt, your settings, the seed, all of this stuff, and you would need to spit out tons of images to find the right one, which you would then, take that and run it again and refine it down, and then you would take that and then it would use things like in painting to fix up faces and hands and blah blah blah. So it was this really kind of like iterative but large sort of scale until you came down. So the images that you see online, the really cool ones on AI sites and such, that was a really lengthy process for that person to get there. Now you can start and say, this is the image that I want, and here's the prompt and all the details, and it will just create it around that using ControlNet. So it's very cool. Speeds things up massively. So I thought I'd do some sketches or take some images and then start kind of building out a bit of a visual kind of like a Pinterest board, really. So that's the only thing that comes to mind of just sort of the potential designs and looks of the house, and using AI to do it, which is just a bit of fun. But back to why YouTube is the best platform. Now, you might disagree with this, but that's okay. That's okay. We're all entitled to our opinions. And this is my opinion. I don't have a YouTube account. That's another thing that a bunch of people say. I don't know how to subscribe and I don't have a YouTube account. Well, you probably do. Because if you have a Gmail, you have a YouTube account. You've got a lot of other things as well. So aside from your email and your Gmail, you've got Google Drive, so you've got storage, you've got Keep, so you've got Notes, you've got Docs, so you've basically got Microsoft Word, you've got Sheets, so you've got Excel. Vision board, that's it. Thank you. You've got photos or your photo storage, calendar, Meet / Duo / what was it before that? Whatever. You've got instant messaging and video calls and all that sort of stuff. And of course, YouTube. So all of that comes when you have a Gmail account, and it's all up in the, well, why don't I show you? Let's have a look. Yes. Now, I kind of have to be careful here. Hey. All right. Yes, you can see this. That's totally fine. Now, I did have a Zoom thing built in, but it's not working. Oh. Yeah, no, that's not working. Anyway, so if you just go to Google, I'll just put this in the middle. This thing here, I'm just going to circle it. Now, Russell's laughing. I don't know why you're laughing at. Probably me trying to show people the most basic thing. But the Google Apps one, that's where you get all of your Google Apps. And all of this is tied to your Gmail account. Or if you've got a separate email, you can still create a Google account from that. But I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, you have access to all of that. So you can do subscriptions on YouTube once you've got an account. And that helps you curate things based on your interests. It doesn't have to be, oh, the sync broke, I need to find a tutorial on how to do that, or whatever. It's find the creators that you gel with, or that you find are interesting about interests that you want, subscribe to them, and it starts to become an amazing kind of like online streaming service. So it's like the most democratized platform. Anyone with a phone, computer, all of this software, the software that I use to edit, it's called DaVinci Resolve. That's free. There is a paid version which gives you more features, but there is a free version of it. So it's basically Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro or Avid, but it's completely free. So that like access to the tools that you need to be able to put together videos is there for anyone. And I think that's a really wonderful thing. So you have people creating content that are passionate about it, that in a lot of cases are very knowledgeable about it, and they're doing it, nearly all cases just for the love of the game. It's not coming from trying to appease advertisers or TV, companies in Australia, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, like the content is garbage. I get why some people watch things like, or like reality TV, like it's hard to kind of look away once you start watching. But yeah, the in terms of like what is on, I find Netflix is just getting worse and worse. Plus, they're cracking down on the whole password sharing thing. They're looking at adding ads into it, and just a lot of the great shows that you love, they just cancel. Oh, it's just like the list goes on and on. I find that with YouTube, when I open it up and I go to my subscriptions feed, there are so many things that are directly related to my interests, that are of great quality because I've curated them, and over time, and I love it. It's not a instant gratification flicking through reels, shorts, TikToks. It's content that really appeals. Well, to me specifically, but I'm sure if you find these content creators, and I think part of the video I want to like shout out a lot of, not that they need them because they've got millions of subscribers, but yeah, not shout out, I guess like highlight some of my favorite creators and why I like them. Now, premium. Every time I see YouTube Premium mentioned online, everyone shits all over it. And I don't know why, because it's definitely the best value subscription service out there, and arguably, I think has a greater amount of good content. I mean, it has a ton of content, but actually, I did find this link. Let's go to it. Are we still on the? Yeah, we're still on this. Okay, so. Check this. Okay, so there are 114 million active YouTube channels. 114 million. So I'm one of 114 million now. 2.6 billion active monthly users. 122 million daily active users. And there are 321,000 YouTube channels with over 100,000 subscribers. One day, maybe, one day, I'll get my YouTube play button. But, an average of almost 700,000 hours of video are streamed by users every minute, which is not quite double Netflix. Most people are watching on their phone. 2,500 videos are uploaded every minute, amounting to 183 hours of video content every minute. So I am 100% a drop in the ocean here, but it just, and I'm sure there are other, but this average video length of like 4.4 minutes here, it really kind of, that's the stuff that appeals to me. And that's why I go to it to like legitimately watch. I find that it's too easy to get stuck there in this, like, you're not happy in the first second, you're just swiping away. Anyway, I'm sounding like an old man, aren't I? I'm sounding like an old man because I am. YouTube. When I hear about YouTube Premium, everyone shits all over it. I said that, yeah. They're also being really scummy with ads. I know that there used to be, I mean, they change it all the time, but there was a few reports of people seeing up to 10 ads before a video started, which is just crazy. That is not acceptable. And you know, there were ways of getting around it using something called YouTube Advanced. There's other apps that you can do which kind of spoof the whole system to think that or it just bypasses ads essentially. But they've cracked down on that. And I think a lot of people get YouTube Premium pushed to them quite a lot. They're just sick of hearing about it. And I think they're also not really using it that well. So I think that's where the ire for YouTube Premium primarily comes from. But if you get, okay, here's my pitch, and I don't know why I'm pitching for $1 billion monopoly, but let's put all that aside and let's just look at the value. If you get a family plan in Australia, that's $18 a month, and that is 6 users. Six users. So that's $3 a month. $3 a month for ad-free YouTube. I mean, it is just bliss. It's a horror show when you go there not logged in. This has turned into a channel for boomers online. I love it. It's totally true. It's totally true. It's not true. Kids, sub, share, all that stuff. Yeah. So ad-free YouTube. I mean, there's nothing better than ad-free YouTube. You get tons of ads by content creators putting them in their content, but you don't have a video at the start. You don't have one in the middle or wherever they decide to put it along. It's just straight away. You have background play, which means you can load up a YouTube video in your phone. Let's say it's a podcast and it's an hour long. You don't want to have your phone open. You don't want it to stop when you close your screen. You know what I mean? Turn the screen off. Background play allows you to play the same YouTube video, so you're hearing it, but you can do whatever else you want with your phone. You can turn the screen off and put it down, put it in your pocket, listen to your podcast. And it's only streaming the audio while you're doing that. So it's not like you're streaming video and just not watching it. And then if you hear something and you want to have a look at it, open your phone and keep watching. So that's how I kind of ingest long form content on YouTube. And you can only really do it properly with Premium. You can also offline videos. So let's say you're going on a flight, doesn't have Wi-Fi. Planes have Wi-Fi, you say? Yes, actually, a lot of plane flights, domestic flights now in Australia, at least with Qantas. I don't know. Kat, can you answer me? Does Virgin have Wi-Fi? But anyway, anytime you're going out, you've got bad reception or you're going on a flight, road trip, whatever, you don't want to kill your data. Pardon me. When you're on your Wi-Fi at home, just add to your downloads, downloaded videos in your app, however many videos you want, whatever your storage device, whatever your phone storage capacity is, you can fill it up with videos. And then you can just watch them when you don't have internet. Virgin does. Okay, there you go. See? Although it's still there, it's still really nice to be able to offline videos because there's times when that's come in clutch. Another reason is for those... Oh, can you hear the train? I'm pretty sure you can hear the train. Anyway, if you are watching a creator that is monetized, I am not. I am nowhere near being successful enough. And obviously, for me, that's not the goal. It's not obvious, but for me, that's not the goal. But if you are watching a content creator and you want to support them, if they are monetized and you watch their video, more of that much more of that ad revenue goes to the creator. Yes, we can hear the train. It's a loud boy. I think it was a freight train actually. So, now the other, and so all of these. So what we got? You've got it's the cheapest plan there is. You got no ads, which is just the best. You got background play. You got offline videos. More of your ad revenue goes to the creator, and on top of all that, you have YouTube Music, formerly Google Play Music, and that is not as good as Spotify, but it's pretty good. You know, it's pretty good. You're going to be hard pressed to not find something that you want on there. Plus, you have, for good or bad, direct integration with YouTube. So if you do like a song and there's a film clip for it, you can switch between them. It's good if you're watching or playing music on the TV, or you like watching music videos. You can also upload, I think, like 50,000 of your own. So if you have your own library of music, you can upload it to the cloud and you can stream that like you would stream any other music. So it's good. It's good. It's got a not very good UI, and you're always worried about Google kind of like messing with it. But as just a cherry on top, so for $3 a month, you and 6 people can have a streaming service with the biggest video library and some of the best creators out there making content that isn't as influenced by other corporations, which television is, which Netflix is, Amazon is, Binge. I mean, that's just another Foxtel, Fox, Rupert Murdoch thing. Yeah, and I think you can get a lot of entertainment from YouTube for $3. Plus you got audio. Plus you got music, rather. Anyway, so that's my little rant. I want to put that into a bit of a quicker and more, I don't know, jazzy video. What do you guys think? Back to actually, I did have another kind of AI thing to talk about, which came about very unexpectedly. So I had this idea, and I wanted to ask Liz because it just came to me, and I was like, this could be amazing. I've got like the best idea ever. So I started talking to Liz. It ended up being something that already exists, which is always the case. But my idea was, wouldn't it be great if blind and low vision people had this service where they could have wearables, so like Google Glass, even though they've completely cut that, which sucks, but there are other companies doing wearables, so that just means electronic device that you wear, but in this particular case it's glasses with a camera with all of your connectivity. So it's essentially it's either connected to your phone, which is connected to the net, or it's completely standalone. Like you can have a SIM card in an eSIM in your Apple Watch and those sorts of things. You can have speakers, headphones, earbuds, whatever. It can have a microphone in it. So you could just use this. And if you're blind and low vision, you can basically engage a service which has a person, in a room somewhere. Sorry, that sounded weird. It's not just some random person in a room, like a proper call center thing, and they sort of connect up to you, and they can see what you see, and then they can describe things to you about what is in front of you, whether it's for navigation purposes, communication purposes, or anything like that. So you can, do it for an hour, or you can have, whatever. But that was essentially the idea. And Liz is like, it's already done. So she mentioned one of the services is called Be My Eyes. And it was so, and then I went to I was like, oh, cool, let me have a look. And then you go to Be My Eyes and boom, they're already integrating the latest, not that long ago released ChatGPT 4. Although ChatGPT 4 has been the model that the Bing search has been using, and that's been kind of demonstrated and accessible for longer than ChatGPT 4 has been released for, if that makes sense. So I was like, this is so cool.
Introducing the future.
That's probably loud.
A new era.
Also, can you tell me if you can hear
fashion
this?
advisor.
Please, Kat and Russ.
Question. A blue sweater with a high neckline.
Be my green thumb.
Take picture. Ask question. This looks like an eucalyptus plant.
Be my translator.
It appears to be a bottle of Worcestershire. A Chinese rice wine.
Be my maitre d'.
The second picture shows a page titled House Favorites. Would you like me to read out?
So this one is kind of like Google Lens, but it will in a audio description or a text which can be read out by screen reading apps. It will describe what it's seeing through the camera, which is really cool.
Be my gym partner.
Then turn right and walk until you reach the first set of machines. The treadmills will be on your left.
Be my map.
Transfer to the central line and take the tube to Tottenham Court Road.
I have my autonomy back.
Be my guide.
It appears to contain various types of drinks such as Lucozade.
Be my gateway.
Yeah, sorry, Russ, that was a bit loud, wasn't it?
It has a layered skirt with a scalloped hair.
Be my AI. Be my eyes.
Yeah, it wasn't a great ad, but yeah, I thought this was really cool. And there are other services we're actually connected to a live person, but using AI to, I guess, see the world around you and describe it to you is really cool. And then I ended up seeing it on the Linus Tech Tips podcast. And yeah, I thought that was just a funny coincidence. And then on that podcast, they were talking about how AI now has the ability to circumvent captures. So, those annoying, prove you're a human things where you've got to either type in letters or match up things. So what the AI has done was it went and used a service like Airtasker or similar things to hire a human to bypass the capture for it, which I thought was insane. So it's a bit of a wild world we're moving into, but I just thought that was really cool. And I don't know whether it's the best thing to give people with accessibility issues right now until it's a bit more proven, but and wearables need to get better as well. But I don't know. Just wanted to share that little story. What's the time? Jeez, almost going an hour. I haven't even got to the main segment. Am I going to call it a segment? I should get like some stinger transitions and some I don't know, bit of voiceover or something. Really jazz it up. Okay, so I wanted to watch some videos together, and this is going to help demonstrate my thoughts and feelings and ideas around architecture. Sorry about that. I definitely muted that then for that. And I'm not going to talk as much about universal design because I want to dedicate a whole stream to that. I think it deserves it. And I think that this will serve to, I guess, highlight what's working. Soundboard. I do have a soundboard, actually. I've annoyed my friends with it a lot since I got it. I got it a while ago, actually, which kind of highlights how long it took me to get this whole thing going. But, I got things like applause. and the sad trombone, which I use quite a lot. Oh, hang on. I've just noticed something. The chat on this is all over the place. Let's get you. Oh. I can't. Whoa. Really need to fix that up. Whatever. It's okay. It's good enough. I think it's a very difficult thing to communicate when it comes to design. And having worked in design, graphic design, web design, it's one of the most frustrating things to go through. Getting inside someone's head and them getting in your head and having this thing that you can never properly share, which is, you know, your mind's eye, and trying to match those things up through language, through examples, image examples, whatever. So I figured it would just be good to go through and show you some things that I think are good and some things which look good, but I think kind of have to move away from. But anyway, it's going to be a bit of fun, a bit of banter. I'll probably shit on a few things. I will definitely highlight, you know, credit where it's due. But my first batch of stuff is from a channel I've mentioned before called The Local Project. And I love this channel. They're Australian based. They go around and present beautiful homes that, you know, ultimately promoting the architect and the suppliers that, you know, maybe the interior designers engaged with for the tiles and bathtubs materials and things like that. So there's like an advertising element to it, but it's shot so well. It's very heavy on the architecture slash art slash design talk, which I hate, but it's there. Anyway, let's just get watching. So why can't I click this? Now, this is in no particular order. We're just going to go through it. What? Oh, full screen it.
A house that's located in Noosa Heads, which is on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, very much in the subtropics, with incredible views.
See, I mean, it's beautiful.
To the south.
Beautifully shot.
The challenge is trying to design a house that would then open up to the northeast to capture all this beautiful winter sun.
So this is Noosa, so Sunshine Coast. Grew up in Melbourne, but moved to the Gold Coast when I was 8, and Gold Coast, Brisbane, Sunshine Coast are kind of like equidistant, an hour apart as you're heading north. So it's like the bottom of Queensland, up to southeast Queensland corner. It's very tropical. It's very beautiful. It's where a lot of people go to. Kevin's coming. Don't worry, Russell. Kevin's coming. Yeah, it's kind of like the Florida of Australia in terms of a lot of people go there to retire because of the temperate climate. It is sometimes brutally humid and very, very hot, and that I think is a challenging climate to build in, mostly because in order to you kind of want that fresh air coming through the house. You want it to be open and airy, but you know, you've got lots of bugs and things to contend with. So when you look at like this picture, you know, come dusk, mosquitoes, midges, all of these little bitey, flyy, creepy crawly things are flying around. So I often wonder when they do these Queensland homes especially, although the whole bug thing is kind of an Australia-wide issue, but yeah, you get a higher proportion of mosquitoes and other little. I don't even know what midgies are, to be honest, but they're just small, much smaller than mosquitoes, but they still bite, they still itch. Lots of ants and things like that. So, and I know that for these things, they doll up the house, they get it perfectly clean and all that sort of stuff. But still, open plan living in Queensland with lots of open space and lots of options for airflow is great. But, you know, are there other practical things that you kind of not missing out, that you are missing out on? You know, we've got the ceiling fans up here, which is great. I love these kind of like indoor-outdoor spaces. I think they're really critical in a home, and I want to do something like that here. Although in the Melbourne climate, this space, unless you've got some large heaters in winter, it's going to be a pretty miserable place to be. It rains a lot. It's very windy. So you've got, you know, you'd have to shut this up. And then if you're going to stay comfortable, how are you heating it? And how efficient is the glass that you've surrounding yourself in? All that sort of stuff. I did just think of one cool solution to the bug thing I saw. I'll see if I can dig up a video. Definitely bug. It's called an air curtain. Let's just watch this. Who cares if it's not very good? It should give me... I think it would be better explaining it than me trying to explain it now. But these are pretty cool. So it's essentially a jet of air.
Mike Howe is a pioneer in manufacturing air curtains.
So let's just go through here. So, yeah, it's basically providing an invisible air barrier, which is enough force to prevent bugs being able to fly in. This is their whatever version of it, but it's really cool. So it kind of looks like, and you can integrate it into the ceilings as well. So, you know, this runner along here, which is for I'm assuming for the doors to slide along on. You can actually have another sort of section, and it's just pushing air out, and then it's like an invisible bug barrier, which is so awesome. And I really want to look at those. So I'm going to pause a lot. Here where you've got this flat, no lip transition from indoor to outdoor, that's so critical in all homes. That's like I think definitely a principle of universal design. So that's going to have that no matter what.
Every day through these quite deliberate experiences.
Good solar.
Skylight, window,
so like a
and courtyard.
20 kilowatt
and there's
system.
Just the sense upon arrival that there's this.
But what is this? What are all these steps going up? And so they're not steps. Okay, that's like a bit of grass in between the concrete things. But still, that's annoying. If you're in a wheelchair, that's annoying. If you're pushing a pram, that's annoying. And then if you were to get out here and go to the path here, you've got to go from one surface to another. Once you get onto this, it looks really accessible. But yeah,
Absolutely
that's weird.
Unadorned, unfettered, invisible connection between occupation of this land.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful.
In the world outside. There's a lovely sense of open plan space dedicated to living, where you move inside and outside through these seamless thresholds, so that one occupies all of these areas as a pavilion.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much you can do in these sorts of homes. They're on the water. You're going to need elevation from the water. If those of you who know me know that I love elevation. But, you know, why not extend this out to a deck so you can have a bit more open space outside, or someone who wanted to sort of experience this outdoor area could, if they weren't able to use these stairs
And the
here.
outdoor space then has the ability to also close down in a series of screens which offers privacy
I love the greenery there. That's beautiful.
to the canal on the south. That space in turn opens out to the north over the swimming pool with a lovely sense of garden.
I mean, these yeah,
On
so many
the
bugs cut.
upper
I know,
floor,
I
That
know.
area is dedicated to the bedrooms. There's a series of kids' bedrooms.
It's a very
all en-suited,
muted
a number of
colour
them
palette. I
facing out
like
to the
it.
north. And then the parents and the guests
Can't really
bedroom
tell too
are
much
both on the
from
southern
an
side,
accessibility point of
views
view
over the water.
what the bathroom's like.
And that also then creates the zone
really
separation
nice.
that's articulated by the void in the middle of
Stairs, second level. Brr.
the space. But the creation of these voids and courtyard spaces is really an ability to bring light deep into
I also
the-
really love concrete
And-
as a material.
And we've been
There's
able
gotta
to
be some
capture an amazing sense of natural light through the use of
affordable
skylights that talk more
eco-concrete
about
to
almost
use.
open sky above you rather than just
Love getting
additional
natural light in
supplementary
too. That's going to be really important for the home.
The basement, which is a very unexpected space in that it is all lit through glass panels inside of the swimming pool, so all of the natural light goes through the water.
I know a couple of dudes that could build a deck. Yeah, you do, Russell. Ha!
What
All
we've
right,
tried-
that's Liz's wet dream there. A full. Oh, look at that! Look at that! I mean,
What we've tried to do is look at material.
do you need a wine cellar? No, but I guess what I was originally trying to communicate was, if you have the means, like these very rich people do, if you have the means, yeah, add it in. But I think that there just needs to be a sense of restraint when it comes to what extra embodied carbon are you bringing into this home in order to have these, Liz would live in there. Yes, she would. Yeah, there has to be a balance there. But yeah, I'm all for people building in indulgent things as long as you're doing it to the principles that we're
that
sort
are
of
natural, that talk
trying
to
to
this
trying to
natural
lay out here.
environment. The charred timber, while not direct references to any one specific thing in Noosa, do talk about the texture of timber and even the idea of forest fires and natural forces that happen within the environment.
There's a thing called the BAL rating or bushfire attack level, which sounds super cool. But that's another thing that we need to be very considerate of in Australia, and I don't think that is. So I think that the function of the materials that we're building out of needs to account for that. You can, I think everywhere you can build to certain wind tolerances up to like hurricane levels, and we do get a lot of tropical cyclones in Australia. And coastal regions, especially the northern coastal regions of the east coast and the west coast and north coast are susceptible to cyclones. So that those sorts of considerations should be made, and it should again be standard. It should be standardized. You shouldn't have to choose. It just should be materials and building practices should build for the high winds and fire resistance, is what I
There's
say.
nothing that compares with concrete in terms of the versatility of it. It can take
Oh,
on the
nothing-
form of
nothing
anything
compares
we can
to
really
concrete.
conceive of. So when you factor in kind of what we need the building to physically
Oh, South
do
African.
and how we want to go about
Not
doing
a
it,
Kiwi.
there's just nothing in our opinion that competes.
I agree, but concrete is such a huge
One of the things that we have been developing in our architecture for some time now is how we deal with the facades
carbon
of
cost.
buildings. We sort of tried
So
to move away
eco
from
concrete
a series
needs
of
to be
windows
used.
just punctuating a wall into
So if you
the
know any
facade being
eco
seen
concrete
as a homologous item in itself.
manufacturers,
What that means here is that
Let
we've
me
got
know.
a double facade where all the windows and the ventilation and light and all those sorts of things are dealt with in one layer.
It's like a
And
lot
then
of
there's
natural
a
light in there,
screen
which is
front of it
awesome.
That deals
But-
with not only the sun, but it deals with privacy.
but your
and also
glass,
creates the architecture
yeah, actually, and all these wooden panels for sort of
street.
breaking up
Takes about
the.
50% of the heat load off
Ooh.
the facade.
Right, here we go.
Equally important, takes
So let's
about
go back.
50 that is very the sun, but it deals with privacy, and then also creates the architectural dialogue that is very much the experience of this building from the street. It takes about 50% of the heat load off the facade, and equally important, kind of tempers the space in such a way that you enjoy the spaces as a sense of light that would come through, branches of a tree.
Yeah, so I think that's a good example of form and function marrying quite well, because your glass is your biggest transfer of heat, both outside in and inside out. It's not a very good thermal barrier, and unless you're going into the double and triple glazed glass, that's going to be a huge factor in your performance of your home. But I love the idea of incorporating that vertical slat style to reduce some of that, and you could also do that with awnings as well.
That planting is very much a central theme in the house because it's part of softening this otherwise very hard concrete. But as it sits more into the landscape and ages and the plants start to cascade more and more, people understand that this building is more about the landscape.
Yeah, that's
ultimately
awesome.
than it is trying
That's
to
really
be
cool.
just about
All those stairs. Where's a
This
ramp?
project was
Where's a
very
ramp
much
when you
team
need one?
effort. And Jen Eggline, the associate who ran this project, did an incredible job of the documentation along with Neva and Lucy to realise all of those ideas. The execution on site from Jason Warren and his team is just absolutely sublime. And Hong and Mark, who did the interiors and the landscaping in turn, that then just built on that and added the necessary layers to really finish off this house and create all the softness. To pay due credit to Craig and Ali, our clients, to say that they were extraordinarily trusting and giving, I think would be an understatement.
So a vaulted ceiling like that is super
To
cool.
say that they were extraordinarily trusting and
I love that kind of double height ceiling, but yeah, I'm curious to know whether that is is worth the cost of that volume of air needing to be managed from a thermal perspective.
giving, I think would be an understatement. I
But
think
yeah,
ultimately
that's so
great
beautiful.
architecture
Imagine
is
sitting
about
out there,
balance.
a couple of
It's about sort of
beers,
finding
watching
ability
the
for a person to sit on a couch, but a group to
watching
sit out and
the
really
river.
What
Lovely.
it is about is creating a place for this family to be able to enjoy the best of being in this environment.
Okay, so cool house, but yeah, you can see there's some elements where it's super accessible, and some where it's not. But overall, it's quite a beautiful home. I mean, all these homes are going to be pretty nice. Tasmania.
I remember when I first came to the site, the very first visit, I was driving along what was an old Jeep track, and I thought, wow, this is
Yeah, totally, Russ.
very rural.
There's so many
And
bugs.
as you drive up, you really have little comprehension, if you haven't been here before, of what you're actually about to witness when you come over the crest of that hill.
Nothing, it seems. Although it's a beautiful view.
The point is, in southern Tasmania,
Okay. I want to know why all of these homes, all homes, it seems, why cannot that be level? Like, why can't you drop it down, whatever that foot is or so? Or, incorporate a ramp. But, people aren't going to put ramps in. People who are able-bodied aren't going to put a ramp in on their home unless it's regulated that you must. But there's got to be ways of reducing that. So you could put in a small ramp. Because, yeah, it looks like you can go almost all around the entire home on the outside on that little balcony. But if you were driving up in a car, you have this barrier to entering the space.
And it's an amazing piece of empty, windswept farmland with incredible views out over Frederick Henry Bay.
Though. That is stunning.
Which
that view.
Quite a thing to have to contemplate in
fire
terms
pit.
of
Love it.
inserting some architecture here. In Queensland, for example, you need to really be out of the sun and in the breeze. Whereas in Tasmania, the opposite is the case. You want to create pockets around the building where you're out of the wind but in the sun. The point was placed very
I don't know.
subtly
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
in the
you have to have the level slab, but it's like consideration to where that level is in conjunction with how you're entering the space, where you're parking your vehicle, all that sort of thing. So it's like, why can't they extend out where the car's going and then have a small ramp that the car, like an incline that the car goes up to get to that level, and then you're in that level space. And then if you did want to have multi-level, then lifts or ramps.
of these rolling paddocks, almost as one line, simply underscoring the landscape. A very durable piece of architecture here that...
Wait. Does that have
The
zero
landscape.
solar panels?
A very durable piece of architecture here that
see. We
you could
shall see.
comfortably live in and enjoy the rawness
Fires. Not good.
and scale of landscape that was beyond.
Yeah, no, yeah. Kat, I mean, a lot of my questions about why isn't this done like this is totally going to come to people saying, well, you can do it like that, but it's going to cost you an extra 20% over what it would originally cost. Or it's going to cost you, an extra 80% or something like that. So I'm sure that the almighty dollar is going to be the most common reason. But I think that the other reason is people are just designing it for themselves, and they don't see an issue with that. Yeah, and Russell, does look like they're burning wood instead of solar, and burning wood is
No matter
not
what you
good.
place in the Tasmanian landscape, it's ultimately going to be
Cute dog.
engulfed by it, such that the architecture itself really becomes a vessel.
Oh, I would adore having a bedroom with views like that. If we do end up building here in this property, you're not getting this unless you kind of enclose, with a wall or fence, and then you have it like a nice little mini garden space in here. But I mean, oh God, what I wouldn't give for a view like that.
The extensive glass on the pavilion itself,
It's a lot
of
of
course,
glass.
enables the breadth of landscape to be centre stage.
I've never been to Tasmania.
The
Never
line
been.
is always changing. Over Frederick Henry Bay, it's constantly changing all day long from dawn till dusk. When you've got a fairly transparent building, the light reaches deep inside those spaces and often lights up the stone or the concrete. And you're literally experiencing a light show from within the building. It's really beautiful.
I think the thing that I'm most proud of the house is the elemental composition and the clarity between the materials. There's 5 basic materials in the building: concrete, glass, timber, steel,
that's.
and stone.
We were definitely considering a tree change, going out. Both Liz and I love the idea of being out in nature, just being away from the hustle bustle. But the reality of the everyday is, I mean, we could barely maintain a 700 square meter block, let alone a 7-acre block or something like that. So I think it's this. You look at it through rose-colored glasses for sure. It's not something that I think we can manage with our current lives and lifestyle. But another big big factor for us was proximity to the children's hospital. So
As the builder,
Putting it
you
in.
really want to try to express them as honestly as you can, to not confuse them with each other, to make the detail where they junction clean and deliberate.
It's a bit
And the one thing about this
bit dark.
building is its level of durability, how these materials were composed.
And given that they're all quite
Outdoor
raw,
cleaning, yeah.
it just brings about a sense of home. And it's this combination of compression and release which gives drama to the
See, this is what I hate. The combination of pressure and release that gives drama to create moments of delight. You know, like,
experience.
come on.
For me, it's about constantly being taken aback by the magnitude of what I'm looking out to. One of the aspects of having such a spectacular landscape is
Yeah, no solar panels.
not only
Unbelievable.
visually but also
Unbelievable.
sound.
I do like the idea of
Tasmanian
durability. Yeah, I
landscapes
completely agree, Russell.
And its
Like,
wild places have a very deep feeling of being ancient. You can
It's
feel
so
history
important.
here, the
Like-
history of the farm.
as I just writing down some notes today about, I really want to explore embodied carbon and trying to figure out what a regular house is, what embodied carbon goes into that average, and then what is the average lifespan of that home. So I'd really like to look at that data and see what comes out of it.
The history of the foreshore, the wild ocean that has been out there crashing against the rocks for millennia. Therefore, the materials chosen for this building are in some way for the building to feel almost immediately older and allow the building to settle more deeply into that history of where it sits.
I like it. I'm a bit over it. Let's go to the next one. I just want to kind of, get an idea of things. Get a nice cross section of different styles. More concrete. I like it.
The area we're in is just
Fritzel
south of
room.
Newcastle. It's the Awabakal people's place, and in the later 1800s there was an incredible botanic garden here that inspired the idea of a landscape
It's kind of like Frank Lloyd
based
Wright-esque.
project where we had the ability to grow the landscape up around the house. We've called it the Bunkeren, which is a name the owners came up with because
Wow,
it's Danish for
huge.
bunker. It's an experiment in looking closely at all of the important things houses need to do.
Whoa. What is this? There's like a gap. Is that like a balcony? Huh. Stairs, beer.
Looking closely at all of the important things houses need to do.
I mean, if you're going to spend, gosh, 3 million? Just guess 3 million? Where is it? Anyway, just for the
trying to
build, but the house build itself, I reckon, was about 2 million for that ballpark. You can afford an 80 grand lift.
Them exciting and make them adventurous. It's on this rocky edge of Australia, and the idea was that
Kid trap.
building
Kid trap?
platforms will float
Oh.
amongst enclosures that are hard to tell where they start and stop. There's hanging gardens, if you like,
Oh, look at that beautiful solar. Yeah, it's huge.
and then the house can have all of
That's so green. Look at that. I love the kind of idea of a living roof. This seems to be natives fairly easily maintained, low maintenance, beautiful. And I love using the idea of using roof space when available to create or using it, just using it I did have a bit of an issue about accessibility with it. I guess I'll get to that at some point down the road, but I like the idea of utilizing roof space for either food production, something like this, which is just having a more green space, and obviously for solar and other kind of utility-based things. But that's
And
so
then the house
integrated
can have all
into
of
the natural
freedoms
landscape. It's beautiful.
that gives it underneath in terms of not very many columns and no supporting walls.
Yeah, I agree, Russell. So some of the lifts are beautiful, actually, like really nice, but they're just not common enough to come down in price. So the lift that you want to buy that doesn't look shit
Obsess about
is
views, and we didn't want to obsess about being devoted to that.
just completely unaffordable.
We were more keen on family and landscape. So the house is designed for quite a lot of family to gather and have quality.
Did they have to split level, have a sunken living room? Again, I mean, you can have both. You can have that and you can have a ramp. But this is just all too common.
In things that are important. Cooking, gardening, raising young children, swimming, and being in nature.
Actually, I think I've seen this one.
Plus
It has a
an
crazy...
appreciation for
Oh,
local
no,
artists
no, go
and
away.
games in this
Come on, let's keep it
project really was
PG-13 here.
The value of being able to bring an architecture down to human scale through fittings and fixtures and lighting and furniture.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah.
Whilst the house-
Oh.
The rooms are quite intimate.
Actually, I think it's fine. I don't think there's an issue with that.
Really set up just to do as little as possible.
But I like that where he was, essentially opening up and closing off rooms. I love the idea of kind of modular spaces. It's got to work. It's got to not add extra effort to to everything, but yeah, I love the idea of spaces which can be utilized in different configurations for different purposes.
The intent with the approach to the house was that you didn't arrive at a house so much as a landscape with a small part that pops up and says, oh, okay, here's the entrance. The roofs are all planted and there will be...
It's art. It is true, Russell. It is art.
When that jungle has grown up and you'll be unclear whether there's a building there or not.
I mean, again, can you design the form after you've at least committed to the function? I mean, this could have been like I know everything's very square and angular here, but you know, you could have some sort of other configuration of this. I mean, yeah, you kind of think about it like, oh, my kids will have a lot of fun, like jumping from here to here. And it's all well and good, but you do have to, I think people have to start remembering that you are cutting off access for a subset of people. And you never know who you might have in your home. You never know, you might, hey, this guy could we could become friends, and then we'd have to go over, and then we'd be like, this is kind of difficult, you know? You've got this incredible home, but this home works against us in trying to get around. So, anyway.
We all got very excited about bunkers because we love them. But then we realised, well, why do we like bunkers?
Cute kitty. There's a
Is it
kitty.
a good idea to do a house like a bunker?
Yeah, this has this really cool underground section where the rock, it's like integrated into it's like a whiskey room, a smoking room, I think. Oh, bathrooms.
The idea of an earth integrated building.
Yeah, totally. See you, Kat. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. This is what I need to see a lot more of as well, which is accessible bathrooms. So you've got drainage down here, which is cool. There needs to be hand railing and all that sort of stuff. But it's a flat level surface the whole way through. A wet room kind of thing, which is what we're going to have to go for.
And not having the risk of burning down is a pretty big relief for families. Then they have huge storms here just south of Newcastle. So there's that quality. Plus, doing a robust house, you can allow the landscape to come up and over, and you don't worry about cleaning gutters, and you don't worry about mould, and you don't worry about termites. No painting ever. There's a whole list of things that are simplified despite it being more difficult to build a concrete house. For our purposes, that meant that we could support the ecosystems and the microclimates and the birds and the natural species and support this beautiful garden environment that we'd inherited. However, the challenge of bringing light and ventilation in
Be a nice
was
place to take a shit.
one that we were aware of. And so by making these platforms of concrete that floated, also pulling some light in from above through slots of skylight, although you're in the ground, half buried, you also have this feeling of
That's cool.
elevation.
I think a lot of great ideas in this home design,
Gardens into bathrooms that are lit
and I
from
think
above.
overall it gets a pretty good rating.
That
There's just some
light
key
and
areas where
planting in a place that you think you're underground
accessibility
is a surprise.
isn't there. It's got solar. I wonder what kind of concrete they're using,
And we
but
had this idea in the brief. The owners wanted a
doesn't
room
have
that
lift
was
though.
a
Yeah,
bit
this is the
less
this is the
used
room.
and a
This is
bit
cool.
more
This is cool.
interesting. We realised that the ideal levels for the house permitted us to make a hole in the rock. We could reveal that and make the building seem like it's grown out of it,
Mm.
and then shape it a little bit for a cellar.
Yeah. Drink some whiskey in there. No fly screens,
The
yeah.
idea
I
of
mean,
taking
Jimmy,
the
this.
external material internally and then warming it with timber and furniture and the beautiful Danish light fittings meant that there's then a very sparing quality, a very mute, stand back, not really draw attention to itself quality to enable the intimacy of space making that the Danes bring to these domestic spaces. There really is just growing landscape and concrete and then brass and wood.
Yeah, I really quite like this one. And how do you get down to the beach though? Yeah, it's
Because
a
the
monster
architecture
home.
is similar material externally
Tennis
to
court,
internally.
pool.
When the doors and windows are open, you're not really sure where the
Yeah.
building begins and ends.
Again, yeah, like any
Such
Australian
an
home which
environment,
doesn't
and so we
have
want it to
a fly
really enjoy the
screen
morning sun and the afternoon sun in different ways
is
in different parts
not
of the
going to be
house,
fun.
as well as being aware of wind direction. You can open the house. in
No,
different
Jimmy,
directions at
there are much more eco-friendly options for concrete which are coming out. They are a
The
bit more
house is set up
expensive,
to
but there are ways
not
that they
be the
can
thing is
use
the landscape.
off.
There's something comforting about solidity.
I was about to say offcuts,
and
and that is just completely wrong.
permanence, and there's also something magical.
They can
about
use different unused material from other processes to then take that stuff that would normally be thrown away into their concrete production. I really want to look into it more.
seeing the landscape growing.
But
up
yes,
around
if you
it.
just talk about concrete as we normally use it,
It brings a sense of
it's definitely not.
appreciation
It's
of
not
the quality of the
sustainable
land to do something
and
high
has
quality
a far
in
too
it,
high
and then
embodied carbon
enable
cost
that
for us
landscape to
to
thrive.
use in the home.
My favourite part of the house for
That
sure
is a
is
sick-
the part that's half rock and half house.
There's this recyclable
It's just
plastic
a
stuff
nice
too. Cool.
reminder that we
Yeah,
share
if you,
this
um,
place.
If you have
with
any links,
nature.
fam, send them
We
through.
don't control it all. We're only part of the equation, and there's a lot to enjoy in the longevity of it.
All right. Very nice. Let's get on to the next one. What's this one? A magical home. I'll be the judge of that. I will be the judge. Like,
This home is a labour
again,
of love. Our
like,
clients really
what? again, I love the foldable doors, sliding doors. I love that you can go from interior to exterior without any lip. But then you're just kind of dropping it off here and going into the garden. You know, and I'm not saying you can't have gardens because that is silly, but yeah, you've got to connect those two spaces.
Really gave us
and then stairs. I don't think you need the stairs there. Yeah.
creative license to come up with a really unique design concept.
I mean, is that too neutral of a color palette for me? Yes. It's nice though.
And I think that's a dream come true for any creative. I'm Mariah, and I'm the co-founder and co-director of Folk Studio, and this is the Curl Curl House.
Solar, yes. Not much though. Could definitely bung some on there. Where's this? WA?
We met with Trius really early on in the design stage and really went through the concept that we had for the home and the interiors and gave them a brief understanding of who our clients
Sydney.
were and how they wanted to live within the space.
Don't mind the style. It's interesting. I know it's a seemingly very, I don't know, boring subject, but access from road to your driveway to home is pretty difficult in a lot of places which are hilly. But if you were to say, see, there's like, how the hell do you get into that door if you were mobility impaired? You know, it's just like you're creating these little spaces of super... Oh, hold on. I'm just going to let it play.
My name is Jennifer McMaster and I'm one of the directors and founders of Trius, and I was one of the project architects on Curl Curl House. Curl Curl's located on Sydney's northern beaches, so just north of the CBD, and it's a suburb that is a place where the bush meets the coast, so it has a very beachside lifestyle and is quite suburban. Curl Curl House is essentially an L-shaped plan, so on the ground floor of the floor plan are all of what we call the public spaces, so the spaces where people come together, congregate. At either end of those L's and at the base of the towers are two distinctive living rooms. And that was an intentional gesture that we introduced within the floor plan, somewhat to eschew that quite typical idea of the continuous kitchen, living, dining room, so that those living spaces would have a sense of quiet and calm and separation from the bustle of everyone coming together. The palette is very much inspired by the Australian beach and bush and the coast, but it also feels at home in the suburbs because we're using a lot of materials like brickwork that are really commonly found in the streets around us in Curl Curl.
One of my favourite parts of this project is really walking through the home and seeing every finish that you've selected over the last 4.5 year process. Seeing it in place and in situ, each light.
Sorry about that. Liz came
chair,
home, barged in,
each
and then I
artwork,
also had to go to the
every
toilet.
rug. Seeing it all come together exactly how I envisioned as a designer is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, cool. I do like
The
the
garden
courtyard
is
space,
integral to
but
the design of
and the
Curl Curl
garden.
House. So when we were planning the home, there were two really key priorities that we had. The first was that we wanted to try.
I like having sort of multiple sections that you're connecting. You know, you could have sort of kids' bedrooms and whatever down here, and then you could have parents and kitchen and living down here. I really like
Try
that.
and make the house as compact as possible to maximise the amount of green space and garden that we could have running adjacent to and all around the home. The second priority was that we wanted every single room within the house to look out onto garden, so that wherever you were, whether you were in the kitchen or dining room or in a quiet space like a bedroom, you'd always have a view of the garden or a nearby tree or a glimpse of sky.
Yeah, cool. I just realized that we've almost been going for 2 hours, so I want to get into some other videos. Let's watch a Kevin video. Let's watch a Kevin video. I'm gonna suck it up and watch a Kevin video.
David.
This is from a Grand Designs. This is what Kevin MacLeod revisits the perfect house 4 years later. I thought this had some really cool ideas in it, but it's kind of ugly, and the interior is horrendous.
David and Greta Iredale have just witnessed their extraordinary.
It is 2003. So this is 20 years ago.
Ordinary kit house being built in record speed. They've just moved in, and I'm interested to see if the German promise of the perfect house has lived up to its expectation.
Hold on a sec.
Extraordinary kit
Does the
house
camera
being built
hit
in
the
record
tree
speed.
up here? It does.
They've just moved in, and I'm interested to see if the German promise of the perfect house.
Oh, look at that jacket he's
just moved
wearing.
in, and I'm
Oh,
interested to see
Kevin.
if the German promise of the perfect
What is that? Is that leather? No,
house
it's just a blazer.
has lived up
Just
to
a very
its
shiny
expectation.
blazer. No, it is leather.
Hello.
Blue door.
Nice to see you again. How are you?
Oh, look at this guy. I love it.
So you're in.
We're in.
That red wall. It was interesting to see so many Grand Designs having all this potential. They've built this beautiful home, and then when it comes to the interior kind of furnishings and material choices, colors, it is just just crazy. And a lot of the time, it's because they've either had a home with contents that they've become really attached to. Hold on. So they bring it with them, and the aesthetic just does not fit the new home, or they go way over budget and they have no money to furnish the home, so they have to furnish it with their old thing, and therefore it doesn't match. But
Hard work, but we're here.
I thought that was interesting.
Those panels of colour, how strong are they? They're very vibrant.
It's down to Greta, that is.
You know he hates them, but he's like, oh, those panels of color, they're very vibrant, aren't they?
Exciting.
Well, we've just added a touch of English design, I think.
How's the rest of it?
Come and have a look.
That's the rest of it.
From the vibrant hall, David and Greta's house opens into the huge open-plan living and dining area,
Isn't it Greta?
surrounded by walls of glass which even on a dull day bathe the space in light.
See through here, there's the
horrendous.
Mondrian that's painted on the hood.
It's not a Mondrian, it's an Iredale, isn't it? This.
It is
When did you do that? When did you
And then he comes out with something like that, and I'm like, damn it, he does know his stuff.
decide to do that?
When the house was built, I decided that was the best place to put it. It was really
It's
larger
great,
than
isn't
life.
it? What does Peter Huff think? Have you been to see it?
Oh,
Yes.
he's absolutely delighted. Never seen all the Germans are saying,
Or does he know beforehand, and he goes and Googles it, and then he kind of comes across as more knowledgeable than Kevin thinks he
we've
is.
heard in Germany about the colours, how wonderful.
He's such an eccentric old couple.
4 years on, and I'm back to find out if such an artistic
Is that the same
couple as
jacket?
David and Greta have been able to bend the unyielding German style of their house into something more personal.
I mean, I swear to God, the day Kevin MacLeod gets a pair of pants that fit him,
At first glance, very
I'll be a
little
happier
appears
man.
to have changed since I was last here.
this was like a foot of extra material.
As good as it was the day they
Oh my God, look at him.
The sofas we had recovered because, as you know, very dear friends gave them to us.
That's right, they were sort of an O'Neill colour. They're
That's
now
right.
gold. That's about the only difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just made a mural that added more gold into that so that it matched it.
Oh yeah, but I rather like the fact that you can kind of, you paint your pictures to suit your decoration
I
kind
do.
of thing. It's
Oh,
part of the
yes,
theme.
yes.
Yes.
And that you add a bit of gold, it's a bit like changing the cushions,
And why
isn't it?
not? Yes, it's easier for me to do that and buy new cushions.
Just as this building is almost impossible to mould to its context, so it's difficult to personalise. But David and Greta have used the German house almost as a starting point for a new collection of David's paintings.
What is that?
These
Oh,
are the changes that we've made across our outside. You can see the additions, the
Well,
big mosaic and the...
You've been painting.
Well, I'm always painting.
Outside,
I love the kind of passive-aggressive interactions that the couples always have.
David's
You get
even
little
had a
jabs
go at
in.
remodelling the context for the house with his sculptures.
I
I
love
really like the sculpture.
That's French plough shears and nuts and bolts and old drills and things all welded
Bits of
together.
balustrade for the
It's a
tail.
balustrade, yeah.
Well, and my father's old tools.
Who cares? Let's get to the...
This is great. It looks like a Gaudi piece of madness, this.
Well, it's made from all pieces.
I don't care about the art. What's about the home?
Clearly, David's outdoor sculptures, like his new pieces inside, are a more fluid and organic
I swear the
response to
original one
rigidity
was
of the
focusing
building.
much
They're a
more on this one.
human, foiled
Because it was really well, it performed really well despite it being mostly glass. I remember it being quite efficient.
Having said that, no amount of art or
And it's a kid
foliage is
home
going to
too,
hide
yeah.
a giant licorice all sorts.
Ugh, anyway. This one, I believe, is... Sorry about that. That was... Love that house. That's all the Kevin you're getting. God, I mean, look at all these videos that I've got that we can't... I might actually have to call it. It's 10. It's a school night. I've been almost going 2 hours. I will go another 5, actually. Let's give it a legit 2 hours, because 5 minutes of the stream is a countdown. So let's get one more. Okay, here's another style. This is from a Australian YouTube channel called Efficiency Matrix. They deal with passive house primarily. They actually the company does passive house certification and blower door testing, which is essentially simulating pressures externally on the home and seeing how many air changes per hour it'll be I don't know why I'm trying to explain this, but
Evo, we've covered a lot of
this one's in Melbourne, and this one uses rammed earth, which is a pretty cool way of building the structure of the home, the walls.
Look at something you may feel a bit more familiar with. It's a conventionally looking weatherboard house, but it has a lot of special features to make it.
Yeah, so this
very,
one,
very
this
special.
is a renovation. It's very cool.
For this retrofit, which is an amazing retrofit. Cam, can you take us through some of the features?
Yeah, we'll just watch this
in
one
the
and
front of
then
the house here.
I think
Yeah, sure can,
I'll
John.
bounce.
So this is a
But it's been
about a
fun.
1910
I've actually enjoyed this
weatherboard.
one.
Yeah.
So
I've
when
talked
we
a little
bought
bit
it,
less
it was bleaky sieve.
and got to
Yeah.
watch some
Had,
stuff. And
pretty much no insulation, single
yeah,
glazing.
it's been,
you could
it's
see
been
the
enjoyable.
skylight,
Thanks for
sky
stopping
coming
by,
out from
people.
around the doors.
Yeah.
So pretty typical for a weatherboard.
Yeah.
But it needed
Yeah, I mean, these houses in Melbourne are Australia, they're just terrible. This will be single pane glass. These will be drafty. Doors will be, you'll have gaps like this under a door, which, I mean, you can't do anything in terms of maintaining good, comfortable temperatures in the home without just using a ton of energy.
And so that's what we embarked on, and trying to get it really super energy efficient and extra comfortable.
Awesome.
And that's what we've tried to do. But we've had to do it within the constraints of our heritage overlay. So there's only so much you can do to the facade of the building. And we're facing
We do
out
not
to
have
the
a
north
heritage
here,
overlay
and
for us,
frontage
thank
as well.
goodness.
So we're really limited in terms.
But we do want to reuse a lot of the materials in the home. So the brick, for example, I want to reuse the brick to either create the front fence or front facade of the house.
Passive solar.
So you understand the trials and tribulations that we have to go through to get a retrofit to a passive house sort of principled home. We'll cover some of those issues that we had as we walk through. With this glazing that you've ended up putting in, how did you go with that, and what sort of glazing did you put in?
Yeah, so that's all triple glazing.
Triple.
So argon filled, so it's pretty high performance stuff with timber frames. And here at the front, we had to retain the same shape and size of those windows, and in fact this large window that you can see here in front of you was a double sash window before, and so the new mullions that we can see on this window are positioned exactly as they were on the original window.
Wow.
So we're trying to make it look like for like from the street as much as we can, and sort of reflect the heritage of the building.
Hats off to achieving those
bringing it into the 21st century
levels of performance while still
I can see that because you've
adhering to the
on the
heritage
side of the house here, haven't you?
restrictions.
Yeah, so that's part of the thing, I
Hey,
suppose,
EV
is high
as well.
performance
Great.
buildings, high performance cars.
Absolutely.
So that's an electric hybrid car, and that's part of the other thing that we did here. So when we first bought the building, the first thing I did was call up Multinet, who are the local gas distributor, and said, look, I want to get off gas.
All electric.
And so about where you're standing now is where the gas meter was.
Yeah,
So
that's
they pulled out
another
the
thing
gas
we've been doing.
and
No
tapped it on the
gas.
street. And so we've gone all electric for everything,
Non-renewable.
and that includes the car.
Awesome, and you've got some beautiful Australian fauna at the front here, and you had the lorikeets
Really
out here
nice
before,
native
which
garden
is
there.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, so it's terrific at this time of year with the gum
I think
trees.
a good native garden actually looks really nice.
We get, in the summer we get all the insects coming and drinking the water in the billabong here. So it's really sort of consistent with our philosophy here of trying to live lightly on the land and give back to the country as best we can.
Beautiful. All right, let's walk through.
Let's do.
So Cam, what have we got here?
So the bit that we're staying in now is the kitchen and the living area. So this is all new.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, this was actually easy.
Yep.
We just demolished the 1980s extension that was here. That was, of its era. It had no insulation, leaked like I said, and it was freezing cold. And we built new.
As is every house
that's
in Australia.
Slate, and that's easy.
Beautiful.
The bit behind us that we just walked in is the old part of the house, and that's the bits that's really tricky.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to retrofit.
Yeah, this
into
stuff
that
here
into
is
something that was
all
really
round
insulated and
earth.
airtight. And when you're trying to do
Which
that
I
around the existing
think they're going to
construction,
explain.
that gets really, really tough. But this part that we're in now is all new.
Okay.
And the other aspect...
Just going back here, this sort of stuff, again, should be so much more common, but it should also have like USB ports, USB-C ports, or this whole thing should be really easy to, pull out and put in when new standards of connectors come along.
But this part that we're in now is all new.
But just adding function
and the other aspect of this
where
really
you
is,
can
again, because the street is facing
is so
north,
important.
There was a question of how we get light into this part of the house, and also how we get the energy, the solar heat gain that comes with that. And so in order to try to achieve that, our building designer built this sort of almost a pavilion type arrangement where we come through the kitchen here, we have a bit of a cutout across the way here, where we've got the sun streaming in to the living room at the back.
Beautiful angles in there going onto your rammed earth.
Yeah, so that was part of the sort of the architectural flourish, was to get this shape on the roof form.
Yeah,
so that was very much
cool.
again about
I like that.
providing some projecting the roof form up to the north to try and capture that low winter sun to get it deep into the building.
Yeah,
but
see,
also
that's
to
function
make sure that we get as much sunlight
first,
into the
and
backyard as
then
we could. Because the backyard was always going to be our productive garden.
Making the
so
form
the space of the house
beautiful.
In which we
got a trampoline,
have the veggies and so on. And in order for that to work, obviously we've got to make sure we've got get us some sunlight in there. So we can't have the building constantly shading that space. But what we find in this house really is it's not the summer overheating problem.
Cool, fair.
Because of the building orientation and the way in which the building has been enveloped thermally, is it doesn't really get particularly hot. The challenge really for us, I think, is the winter, which is in Melbourne, of course, a much longer time than the summer overheating situations.
It is quite a surprise to me you mentioned summertime is not an issue, because And as I look at it, you got a fairly large north-facing high bay window area. Yeah, I would have thought every now and then you would have quite substantial overheating issues. But I think it has something to do.
It's cool. They don't need to use the air conditioner often. And that's what you kind of get with a passive house. You can just sort of, as you need it, use a little bit of energy. And if you're using solar, then it's free. You know what I mean? But you can. It's probably integrated in there because they don't actually need to use it very often. So on the occasions that you do, boom, you use it, open it up, and then close it, and it's out of the way. I love it.
With the extended projection of the roof to protect the direct sun.
Although that's going to be a difficult thing to do for someone with mobility issues. So unless you're automating something or just having a high position hinge door. So there you go. I've gone from really liking that to thinking that's actually not going to be
extended projection,
not going to be useful
to protect the
or
direct
accessible
sun from
rather.
the high bay window, and also you have plenty of render provide thermal mass to soak up the extra heat.
Yeah, that's right. So our building designer was terrific at dealing with the shadowing and looking at the positioning of windows and the positioning of the eaves and the depth of the eaves to make sure that we.
It's cool. You can design a house in 3D, give it GPS coordinates and its position, and you can simulate the entire year's worth of
into the home
shade, shadow, sun. All that sort of stuff.
And in
really
the summer
cool.
months, the sun is well.
So that's why I want to.
There's no way that sun will strike any of these north.
I want to do the house in 3D.
So there's a little trick in the design there.
I've done a little bit of 3D, so I think I can do it.
It's just simply a geometry problem. And so these days, all the building designers and architects have got their computer software. It's quite easy for them to be able to run these sort of shading analyses to actually see what sort of geometry is going to work for the building. So we've only lived in the home since it's been like this.
But you've got a lot of data on it, right?
We've got heaps of data on it. So this is perhaps one of my things, is to actually monitor what the building is doing out of curiosity in a way, but also as a verification check. Our house was the most expensive thing I'll ever invest in.
Exactly.
And so I want to know that it's actually performing in accordance with what it's been designed to do. And that's what really appealed to me about Passive House. Was that I was actually paying for something which was verified. And so I've got about...
so a passive house is something that has been certified and meets particular standards. So it's not actually... You can use passive house principles to build, but to actually have a passive house, you have to get certification.
10, 15 different temperature, humidity sensors across.
And it used to be only 15 to 20% more than a standard build to passive certification. And that cost is coming down. And you are saving money in the long term, considerable amounts of money now that energy prices are so volatile, because you don't need to use as much energy in the first place, and the energy that you are using, having solar doesn't mean the way you get your energy isn't factored into the passive house. The passive house certification is purely the house performance. But if you're getting that from solar, getting it from the sun,
the building,
it's free energy, baby.
That you can see behind me here, I've got temperature sensors embedded in that. I monitor all of our electricity consumption. And some of the things we've...
And is it cool just to be able to have those data points available to you?
Including the car, which is an electric car. We're producing about 30 to 40% more power from the solar electricity than we consume. And that includes all of the appliances like the TV and so on.
Which is why battery storage is really important. But I don't think this guy has battery storage.
Hot water. So we use a heat pump for the hot water. For our heating needs, for the reverse cycle air conditioner and the small heat pump hydronic setup. And of course the car as well.
And you've got a family here too, right?
And we're a family and we do all the normal things that everybody else does. It's not like we live in a cave.
Yeah. I think it's important
what
to...
was the idea with Around Earth?
Yeah, so
Actually, here
this
we go.
was something we really loved as a material. So first and foremost, we just thought that it looked really beautiful, and it's got a real sense of character and
He's
life
back,
that
baby.
plaster just doesn't have. And across the day, you just get subtly changes colour, and you get shading. And
This one's a good one,
shadows and
Russell, because
stuff forming on it. It's just got a real life to it.
Melbourne-based.
The other aspect to it
You
was
kinda like-
to provide some thermal mass. And that's
Kind of like
something
imagine
we were
yourself
very much on the fence about as we sort of moved
when you live in
towards
that
this passive
climate
house
and you live in the
idea.
area. If you can see someone
And
that's done it
it's
locally, I think
something
it's
probably in
things click
retrospect
for you a
we
bit
paid
better.
little
You
bit
can
more attention to than we needed to. But having gone down the passive house route and built a building fabric that was really airtight and really thermally efficient, you just really don't need that thermal mass to balance out those too hot and those too cold periods. And in a way, it introduces a lot of complexity because it's much harder to make the building airtight when you have materials like concrete and rammed earth. And it's much more difficult to ensure that you've got a thermal bridge-free design. So you've got insulation consistently running around the
all
building.
about that. So how did you deal with that insulation consistency issue?
got to avoid those thermal bridges.
The rammed earth is insulated
So
externally.
thermal bridges is just something that will allow heat transfer, and that can happen in your structural materials. If you're using steel, for example, that's a really good conductor of heat. So like, it will that can result in a lot of thermal bridges, corners. I can hear Liz singing outside. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking and playing videos so no one can hear that.
Which is quite high performance foam, so it's clad externally, and then it's sitting on a concrete footing. But between the concrete footing and the rammed earth, we've got an XPS, an extruded polystyrene foam, so a high compression foam.
Wow.
So in that way, we're essentially creating a thermal battery that's entirely...
Oh, I really was keen on this. I love having,
wrapped in insulated
underneath
in the building. So the only
water
exposed
storage.
surface is to the inside, which is how thermal mass should work if it's going to work well.
I didn't talk to this guy.
The other
This guy
aspect
knows
of
what he's
the
talking
thermal
about.
mass is the concrete slab. So we've got a small slab that's only about 5 by 5 metres. There's a structural slab underneath what you can see here. And then we've got again a phenolic insulation foam
Sunken living room,
sitting
I
on
hate.
top of that.
I mean, I
structural
love a
slab.
sunken living room.
Then
I
another
always wanted a
18
sunken living room when I was a
millimetres
kid.
of concrete screed,
In my
which is
home,
what you can
just
see
seems
here.
so
That's the
cool.
exposed concrete, and sitting within that is a small hydronics
Conversation pit is what it's
hydronic coil,
is also
heating
called.
coil.
Oh, it's ironic there.
We used that for the first winter.
I don't think
but
you
we
need
haven't
them.
used it since.
Yeah, see.
Instead,
go.
we find that we just use the reverse cycle air conditioner because we just need, in a building like this where the temperature just doesn't vary that much, you don't need a heating system that's just constantly on. You just need to top up the heat occasionally, and the reverse cycle is a really efficient way to do that.
And you have a heat recovery as well. Ventilation.
In a way, and it just adds so much complexity to a building to try and incorporate thermal mass. And for the passive house approach, it's probably just not necessary in the vast majority of cases. Would we do it again, the rammed earth? Absolutely, just because we love it as a material.
Yep.
And again, you can make it work. And what we've found with our monitoring is that even when it gets relatively cold inside, and it doesn't get cold in a sense versus most Australian homes, the rammed earth is always about a degree warmer than the inside temperature. So it's contributing that heat marginally back into the space. Cool. And then vice versa, in the middle of summer when it's getting really hot in here, maybe 25, 26 degrees, the rammed earth is always a degree or so colder.
Awesome.
So it's sucking up that heat. So it's helping us a little bit at the peaks. But I wouldn't overplay that and suggest that that's fundamental to the performance of the building.
I'd like to consider rammed earth. I think it's
a passive house approach that
a cool
So this
cool
is
material.
actually the same material that we've got at our driveway. So it comes out of a quarry in Dramana, which is just south of Melbourne here. And they brought in 32 cubic metres of gravel, basically. That's what it is. And then they mix it on site with about a 10% cement binder. They don't add any water to it, so it's not a slurry like concrete would be. And then they put up these metal shutters, and they basically get a bobcat and they drop the the gravel mix into that space, and then they have a pneumatic ram, and they whack it down. Ram it down, and what you're left with when they take these metal shutters off are these sort of what look like rectangular blocks almost, and this finish here. So this is just the pure raw rammed earth finish.
It's cool. It's
once
cool.
you take those metal shutters off.
And do you need to put any sealer on it?
So it's got a very
it's expansive,
sort of viscous sealer.
Rammed earth.
But it's not
Is it?
finished. You can easily pick away the dirt.
Oh man.
It's just a small.
You can't have small
liner
kids.
sealer on top.
Elijah would dig a hole in that wall.
Passive house principle.
Full of days through.
Supreme air tightness. What are you doing to ventilate the place?
Bertha,
So
love
we've
it.
got mechanical ventilation, which is this guy right here. So we call her Bertha because all of my friends that come around, they talk about that heater that you've got in the laundry. And so as I keep trying to explain to them all the time, it's not a heater, it's a heat exchanger.
Yeah.
And so it runs at just under 30 watts, which is nothing. It's basically 2 fans down in the bottom here. So what we do
Is it
we bring in
expansive?
fresh
Yeah.
air from outside.
That's why I asked the same question too. I'm curious how it compares to other materials.
Humid, warm air from the wet space.
Because he said he got it from some quarry in south of Melbourne, which is great in terms of where you're getting things from and the travel distance. So
Bathrooms and laundry in the kitchen. We run it across the heat exchanger. We extract the heat from that outgoing air. We put that heat into the incoming air, which then goes into the living spaces.
Yeah,
and that's
so
constantly
cool.
on all the time, and it just churns away just really slowly. So you don't hear it, you don't feel it. There's no sense of breeze or anything in the house, but it's just constantly giving you that distribution of fresh air into the building. And I'm not relying on there being wind outside or a difference in temperature which creates the convective air movement inside into outside, or indeed even on opening the windows. And so the way I describe it is kind of like a window that's perfect because it's delivering air at the right temperature, that's filtered, doesn't have the mozzies, the flies and so on.
yeah, that's such a cool element of a passive house design.
So that's the other big difference to most Australian building practice is you can't have a standard extract fan that we have in Australian homes. As soon as you put one of those in a passive house, your air tightness is completely gone.
Yeah.
So the advantage of mechanical ventilation like this is you're extracting that humidity out of the bathrooms. So if we take a wander up there, I'll show you
That's
how
that blower
works.
door. Just
Righto, so here in the bathroom, we've got 2 extract vents up in the ceiling, and those 2 are connected to the mechanical ventilation system. And again, it's constantly on. So we've constantly got the humid air that's in the bathroom being dragged up into there and out of the building by retaining the heat. And when we have a shower,
it's so cool, and it's just like it's all established and doable. It blows my mind that more people aren't doing this.
So that when we come in here, it's basically a boost switch, and you can just press the button, and the whole system will go up to high boost. Pretty much in the same way that a conventional extractor fan works, but rather than just throwing all that heat energy within that air outside,
It's a very
we
inaccessible
extract the heat
shower,
by
though.
throwing out the humidity. The other great thing about this is because it's running all the time,
Getting through that
as soon
door,
as you, with a
impossible.
conventional
Basically, you want to
extractor fan,
have.
turn it off after 10 minutes, you leave the room, but the tiles and everything is still wet.
I'll let him
So
finish.
this space, great,
So I want to have. Yeah. Oh, I've already talked about
really
that.
builds up humidity for hours after you've had
Wet
a shower,
room.
and that humidity can just drift back into the rest of the house. Whereas with mechanical ventilation, you constantly have the movement of air, negative pressure, which is dragging all that humidity out of the building rather
Negative
than drifting
pressure.
back into the space.
A friend of mine loves negative pressure.
Cam, you and the team did a great job changing these properties from a heritage showers.
Yeah.
What this all about? And
Yeah, I think it's one. Oh, yeah, what is it? National Association of Building Designers congratulates EAM Design. Best Sustainable Design, 2018.
Home of the Year in 2008, Essential Sustainable Building, quite kind of nice. Really, sciences and running the car for about 10,000 kilometres.
Wait,
so
hang on.
really, Building of the Year with Sustainability in Architecture magazine, and Best of the Best as well, which is quite kind of nice. But best of all, we get to live in the place.
Exactly.
And the big difference really is that it's comfortable all the time. costs us next to nothing to run, so our electricity bills are about $400 a year.
All
and
right.
that's covering all of the heating and cooling and the appliances and running the car for about 10,000 kilometres. So really we've largely eliminated our ongoing costs. But probably the greatest lesson.
I'm going to save that. I have to look at some of those houses that have won those awards, because this one is really cool from a sustainability perspective, not from an accessibility perspective.
It requires a deal of thought and effort, but it can be achieved.
Now, after 3 years, we've just run
Here's the big
air
test.
tightness and it's pretty much where we left it, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's terrific. So I'm really thrilled about that. So when we completed the building, in order to try and get certification for ENERFIT, which is the passive house renovation standard, we needed to achieve 1 air change per hour at 50 Pascal, and we got 1.2.
Yep.
And that was after 4 rounds of really hard effort
tough.
to try and find those last few holes.
Yeah.
And now we've just done another test and we're 1.18. So pretty much the same as we were
Cool.
3 years
Yeah,
ago. So
that's cool.
Really
So that's the test which shows you, how airtight the house is. Very cool. All right, I've really enjoyed tonight. I've had a really good time. Thank you so much for the friends that have dropped by, and hopefully some people are going to watch this on demand. But I think I got some great pieces of content as well to put in the highlights. Thank you, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.